Welcome to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables, and whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the SImple Sophisticate's 36th episode. Today we are talking about relationships, our social circle, in fact, all those people that make up a quality social life, whether it be at work or in our personal life. Recently, I've had some news arrive in my life that while I was consciously and unconsciously working towards this goal for quite some time, I will admit that I'm not sure it has entirely sunk in yet. As to what it is, I will share later in the week on the blog. But today, I want to focus on you. I want to focus on how we can construct a healthy social circle to help us reach our goals, live a full life, and create this life of quality. And by doing that, we're also going to flip it on its head. We're going to look at how are we contributing to those in our lives, those people that we have in our lives, and helping them to achieve that success that they seek and reach their fulfillment, because it really is a two-way street. And that's why after all these events just recently happened in my life, I started to examine, how did I get to where I am? How was I able to do this? And I knew I hadn't done it all on my own. I knew I needed other people, and I knew I had many people to thank. What I know for certain is that if an outcome is that we're seeking involves other people making the decision that will be, yes, you get what you would like, and or no, you don't, how we interact and with whom we interact with leading up to the outcome we seek is vitally imperative. In other words, the people we choose to welcome into our lives, how we interact with the people in our lives, and who we release from our lives plays a significant role in the contentment we feel and the overall quality of our lives in both our professional and personal worlds. So, who should we welcome and who should we usher to the door? That is precisely what we will be talking about today on the SImple Sophisticate. So before I begin, I'd like to start with a quote, and this one is an unknown. I'm not sure who said it, but I loved it, and it is simple, but it's true. Here we go. A healthy relationship will inspire you to be more of who you are, not require you to give up who you are. So to begin with today, we're going to talk about those people we need to politely show the door to. Those people that really are a drain on us, our energy, our creativity, our inspiration, our hope for living a quality life. Now, I want to start with these group of people first, because we first have to remove what isn't working before we can add what we need or what will enrich our lives. So here's a quote to start off this section. Quote, "People think being alone makes you lonely, but I don't think that's true. Being surrounded by the wrong people is the loneliest thing in the world," as stated by Kim Culbertson. So the first of 9 people, we're going to talk about 9 different types of people we need to let go. The first of 9 people we need to let go are those disrespectful individuals. Quote, "You can't force a person to show you respect, but you can refuse to be disrespected." So while we can't control how someone treats us, sure, we can't control people in general, right? We can control how we respond to it. So at first introduction, you may not be able to discern if any individual will be disrespectful towards you, but quite quickly you will. And it's interesting because it might actually be in what they don't do that shows their disrespect even more so than what they do. So here we go. Here's some examples. So maybe it's they're continually unappreciative of your position or the fact that you are their superior. Or maybe they're not appreciative of the time and energy that you've expended on them. If this continues to happen, whether it's ignorance on their part or not, this may be a person you'd want to let go. Now, if they are blatantly being disrespectful in their actions or their words, that's a little more, that is easier, I think, because you can see it, you can hear it. But it's when things are absent that you're like, wait a second, I don't want to assume that they're being disrespectful. But whether they're choosing to be disrespectful or not, they're not understanding what the relationship is, or they're not understanding how much energy you are expending. And while you can maybe, if you want to salvage that relationship, have a conversation with them, absolutely. But if it's not something that is, if it's a coworker or someone you're just going to have a short time relationship with for whatever reason, it may be better to shift your energies elsewhere. So number 1, let go of those disrespectful individuals. Stressors are number 2. Quote, you should only aim to be stressed by situations and not by people. Let me begin by saying that there will be a variety of people in which you will experience together stressful situations. That does not mean that those people that you experience the situation with are stressors that you need to get rid of. Absolutely not. For example, that you may go through at work a situation where the budget is tight and it's very stressful at work because you don't know who's going to be let go, or you don't know how much money is going to be able to be spent, things like that. And so everyone's on edge, but the people didn't cause that. That has to do with an economic situation. It has to do with the economy, things like that. Or it may be a family situation that occurred unexpectedly, whether it be a move or a death or a change of jobs. Or it could be a travel itinerary that just isn't going as planned. All of these things are outside of the people's control. So it's not the people that are being the stressors, it's the situation. So in those instances, those people aren't the problem. Contrarily, if they were the cause of the stress, if they simply with their presence instigate the stress, such as being very contentious, anything that's being said, they can make an argument out of it, or there's inappropriate behavior on their part and they know better, or they have a reckless awareness of their effect on others. These are the people that are the stress themselves, not the situation. And these are the people you want to consider letting go. These are the people you want to consider letting go. So number 2, stressors, let them go. Number 3, two-faced talkers. Such individuals are quite lethal to our ability to trust people. In fact, these types of people, if we keep them in our lives, erode our ability to generally trust others. And that's not good for us either, because the only way to establish healthy bonds is to be willing to be vulnerable and therefore willing to build that trust. But if we can't do that, we're going to have a tough time connecting with people. So these two-faced talkers, they will tend to tell you what is pleasing to hear to your face, or if you are in their presence. But when you are nowhere in audible reach, their commentary takes an about face. Let these people go. For whatever reason, they feel that they have to say hurtful things about you, whether it's to bolster their reputation or to fit in with that group. You don't want that person around. Their behavior is a reflection of their need to please and their lack of a backbone to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. We're not saying that we want people to be completely blunt and frank to us all the time, but there's a way to do it when it needs to be heard. And to know when it needs to be heard is obviously a skill as well. But to lie and then to say the exact opposite, or be rude about something that's going on in our lives, or to share something that they said they wouldn't share, whatever it is, it could involve lying, it could involve two-faced talking, whatever it is. Again, these are people that have their own issues. Let them go. Let them go. It's less about you and more about them. So number 3, let those two-faced talkers go. Number 4 are the pain instigators. While most certainly there will be times when our friends, spouses, or colleagues hurt our feelings or overstep their bounds, this is not necessarily initially a reason to extricate them from our lives. So long as we have the courage to speak up and make clear what our boundaries are, each of these relationships, if they have these little hiccups, has the opportunity to be repaired and in fact, can actually grow stronger if people learn how to interact with each other. However, it's when a person in our lives has hurt us once, we respond in kind and tell them that has hurt our feelings or whatever the situation is and how we feel. And then they proceed to do it again, and maybe even again and again. That is when we must show this person to the door and release them from our lives. Because these are not people that, kind of going back to that disrespectful on number one, they don't respect us enough or the relationship enough to change or improve or be more conscientious. So number 4, let go of those pain instigators. Number 5, the takers. When it comes to relationships, giving and taking is a balance that needs to be struck individually with that particular relationship. Every relationship will be a little bit different. But when someone is constantly taking from you, maybe they're constantly asking for favors or constantly expecting you to do things for them, or they're expecting money and they never repay it, or they are enjoying the bounty of your connections without being appreciative, this person needs to be removed from your life. Why? For whatever reason, they are either ignorant or to what you have been doing for them, or they are just simply not able to appreciate what you're doing, and they simply expect this treatment. That probably will never change. They need time to grow if they are just simply ignorant and realize, hey, I shouldn't have been so unappreciative. Or if they do realize how lucky they are and they aren't giving back or being appreciative, those people probably won't change and you really got to let them go. Either way, you must speak up and you must protect yourself. So number 5, the takers. Toss them. Number 6, those negative Nellies or wet blankets. Now I'm kind of combining these two. They have, for the most part, very similar traits, but there are some differences and I'll talk about that. The key thing, though, at the core of both of them is that there's a weight of negativity that weighs the receiver down, and you are the receiver of their energy. And that's why we need to let go of them. Each morning, each one of us wakes up with a finite amount of energy. Some days we will have more than others. I mean, it just depends on how much sleep we received, what our day was like before, what the day is ahead of us, how much food we ate that was healthy and full of good nutrition. There's so many variables. But every day we do have energy, but there is a limited amount. So when we spend time with someone who only chooses to comment on the negative by complaining or whining, or they can't seem to find the good in the day, our hope, our positive energy quotient is slowly chipped away at. Because if we are trying to be positive, which most of us usually are, good for us, right? Woohoo! It still takes extra energy to do that. It takes extra energy to figure out a response to keep it positive, or to simply stay upbeat, or to suppress any need to combat this person. Because when we battle in any of those instances, we are draining ourselves. We are draining ourselves. With regards to the wet blanket, such a person can douse a spark of hope or excitement simply by saying nothing at all when we come to them all excited about something, or by responding with a cynical comment, or simply being apathetic to the reason that we are so cheerful. Granted, we may run up against one of our friends or family members after we've had a great day and we tell them all about it and they don't respond the way we expected. And this may be out of the ordinary for them. Maybe something happened in their day that we just don't know about. But if a person is if their modus operandi is simply always to be a downer, ignore, or not get excited or find the negative in it, we need to gradually let this person, or maybe immediately, let them go. Because over time, if we keep these wet blankets and these negative Nellies in our lives, our ability to be hopeful and optimistic will become dampened. It's going to be harder to do. We'll have less energy to build those resources. So number 6, let go of those negative Nellies and wet blankets. Number 7 are the constant competitors. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I say this one. A constant competitor feels the need to perpetually and consistently one-up you. No matter what the other person they're having a conversation says, there's always a story that they can tell that makes them sound better because they've experienced more, or it was worse for them if you're telling this horrible story about how you got whatever it was. Why do they do this? There's a whole bunch of reasons why they could be doing this. Typically, it has to do with their own insecurities and their constant need to seek validation, because they have to demonstrate that they are successful, that they are happy, and that they have had it so much better or worse than you. So it really has no reflection on you, but they're not able to be in the moment with you. They're not able to reciprocate what you need. And as we know, relationships are give and take. And this person is constantly taking, making it about them and never able to allow you to share or to shine. Now, this doesn't mean a friend can't share a similar experience they had. Absolutely not. I mean, that's part of conversation, right? But rather, they must recognize when there is a moment when their friend just needs to talk and get excited, and they need to be excited with them. Or maybe it's they're having a horrible day and they just need to be heard and listened to and not be one-upped. And they just simply need your support and your time. So I think the key is just to recognize as a friend, number one, when is the time to have a conversation and when is the time to listen? And vice versa, making sure that you're choosing people in your life that know that difference. And it's not that they're going to be perfect at it, but there needs to be at least some recognition of, okay, I need to stop and just listen to this person, be excited. I need to be excited with them. And if they can't figure that out and they're constantly always trying to compete with you with whatever you share, these people need some time to grow and grow up, basically. So you might want to move on. You might move on or give them some space. That's number 7. The constant competitors. Let them go. Number 8, the passive aggressives. Passive aggressives are often the most difficult to recognize, but they can gradually and harmfully affect our everyday lives if we allow them to spend regular time with us, or we have to spend regular time with them. Maybe we work with them. Someone who is unable to speak directly to the issue at hand and instead chooses to mope or withhold affection or attention is trying to maintain power or to intimidate. Such people are cowardly and they are weak by nature, actually, which I think is interesting. And I think once we learn that, it's like kind of like an aha moment, a light bulb moment. It's like, okay, this person feels inferior. That may have nothing to do with you. Most likely it will have nothing to do with you. It has to do with previous experiences that they've had, a lack of self-confidence, but they're trying to hang on to anything that will give them some power or allow them to keep some power they think that they have. Instead of confronting the issue, passive aggressives will bury it and they will brew on it. And this will continue to not only affect them negatively, but all of the relationships around them, because it causes people to walk on eggshells for fear and if they will explode or become manipulative and do something behind people's backs. The key, if you must be around these people, is to confront them tactfully but directly and then move on. When you do this, their power that they have over you is gone and you are free from their draining effect. If you can, don't spend time with these people because it's their issue and it will always be their issue until they can figure out how to get past it. Number 8, the passive aggressives. Number 9 is the last one to let go. And it is an interesting one because it's not this negative type of people that we've been talking about, or these herders or these drainers or these competitors that are all about themselves. Number 9 is a little different. It's the expired relationship. I saved this one for last because, as I said, not all relationships are bad, but they simply have gone beyond their expiration date. Whether it was a romantic relationship that was meant to help you grow or to learn something about yourself or about life, or a colleague or a boss that taught you or helped you to excel in your career, or a friend who was your confidant, but now you're just simply going on different paths. Each individual we have a relationship with has the opportunity to enhance our lives, but each relationship isn't meant to remain a part of our lives forever. Consider, for example, your childhood friends, the teachers you've had in the past, your bosses from previous jobs. I'm sure most, if not all of these people are very good and you had amazing experiences with them. But there's only so many people we can have in our lives because there's only so much emotional energy we can give to help keep these relationships strong. Upon ending or leaving such relationships, some just happen. You don't have to say anything. You just kind of move on. If it's a work situation, you might want to say thank you or extend a thank you gift or a thank you card, or maybe a little gathering at your house if you're moving to a different city and you won't see those friends as much anymore, but you want to let them know, hey, what you have meant to my life means something. It's really up to you how you handle it. Honor it in your own way, but then move on. So that's the last one. Number 9, let go of the expired relationships. Now, hopefully you can gradually detoxify your life, and maybe you already have, and you've learned a lot of lessons along the way. This process does take time. Sometimes we don't know who these people are until after a certain amount of time. So have patience with your life. Now we're going to get to the fun stuff. Those 6 people we want in our lives. But before we do that, I'm going to take a 1-minute intermission and I will see you on the other side. Now that we've talked about those who should no longer or ever be in our lives, we've made some room for whom we should welcome into our personal and professional social circles. As with nearly every arena of our lives, it is not the amount of people we interact with and build relationships with, but rather the quality. The type of people with whom we spend our precious hours of each day can make a tremendous difference on the quality of our lives. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, as we're going through these lists, let us not forget that this is a two-way street. So as much as we want to consider who these people are in our lives, or if we have these people in our lives, we also need to be considering, how am I embodying these next 6 traits? Am I someone's cheerleader, which is going to be our first one? Or am I being a negative Nelly? And I need to stop doing that. So as much as this is also about trying to figure out how to build our social circle, it's also about how are we contributing positively to other people's social circles as well. So let's get started. The first person we want to welcome into our lives with open arms is the cheerleader. A cheerleader is just as it sounds. They are there to keep you going, to remind you of your strengths, and to help you plow forward when you feel that the world has handed you a little too much. They are also there to celebrate with you when success finally comes your way. A cheerleader is not, however, a Pollyanna. Let's be sure about that. They don't sugarcoat anything and they do not ignore reality, but rather than the realist, which we'll talk about here in a minute, they help you find your grit and they provide the boost of energy when you feel you have nothing left to give. A cheerleader is that person sending you a text just before you step up to the plate for that much sought after interview. Or a cheerleader also is there to remind you of how amazing you are before you go out on a date or are meeting someone new. A cheerleader is also that person you talk to after each of these events occurs, who listens and reminds you of the good, even if you may forget from time to time. And more importantly, they are just as excited for you when all goes well. So number 1, the cheerleader. Number 2, the mentor. We all need a mentor, or mentors for that matter, whether we speak directly to them or simply observe them from afar. A person who embodies the qualities, has accomplished the success, and lives their life in such a way that we wish to model our own after, that is a mentor. Preferably, a mentor is someone that's in your life that you can confer with from time to time, to check in with, to ask for life or career advice and receive their feedback. The difference between the feedback from a mentor and any other random person is that they have already been where you wish to go. So their credibility has been proven. So number 2, welcome the mentor. Number 3, the realist. Not to be confused with being a cynic. We're not talking about that whatsoever. The realist in many ways is your conscience and your gut, but they are also someone who most definitely has all the facts. This person is often someone older with more experience or wisdom and has learned the lessons or has been in the business of life and has succeeded at it. The realist will point out the options, the pros and the cons and the bottom lines and break down everything, but they will not sugarcoat it. They will not, though, however, squash your dreams. They will give you all the necessary facts so that you can go forward, should you choose, and be well informed. And number 4 is the connector. The connector is someone who opens doors for you that you cannot do for yourself, no matter how amazing your resume may be. The saying that I always remember being said to me as I was a young adult was, it's not what you know, but who you know. And in part, this is a true statement. But as I mentioned in my book, you can know all the most amazing people in the world. But if you do not have the skills and the personality to do the job or to appreciate or take advantage of what they can offer, it doesn't matter a lick who you know. The connector is someone that may be also a mentor in that they see something in you and wish to help you get there. They, having been there where you would like to go, they know how they can help you get there. They know how to assist you, what doors to open, and they want to. The tricky part of this kind of relationship is that the mentee needs to be aware of the priceless door-opening assistance that they are receiving from the connector, and they need to be grateful. The receiver does, as well as respectful. So that's hugely important. Number 4, the connector. Number 5 is the giver. And I want to share a quote from Wayne Dyer to kick this one off. It says, quote, "Love is the ability and willingness to allow those that you care for to be what they choose for themselves without any insistence that they satisfy you." I love that. And I think that is the essence of any healthy relationship, especially one based on love, especially in this instance, it would seem unconditional. But really, if you genuinely love someone, you genuinely love what you're doing, you're not asking for anything in return. You're just trying to help or foster that person become a better version of who they already are and who they want to be. To give without expectation is a characteristic of a secure individual. Such a person doesn't grease the wheels to see what they can get in return. No. Rather, the giver is simply giving because they see a need and wish to help, wish to motivate, or they want to express their love. The receiver undoubtedly should express appreciation and should not take advantage. However, the giver is intelligent. They're not people who are easily taken advantage of. They give because they can, they want to, and they see a need. When there is no need, they focus their energies elsewhere without contempt, but rather a sense of fulfillment. Another piece of insight into the giver, these are people that you typically cannot seek out. The others that I've talked about so far, and the one I'm going to talk about in a second, are often people that you need to have the courage to strike a conversation up, to let them know how you feel or what what would like to know from them, whatever it may be, whatever type of relationship it is. But a giver is typically someone that finds you, And I think that's important to keep in mind. Number 6, the last one, is the motivator. Reminding you of all the possibilities life has to offer. That is what a motivator brings into your everyday life. What a beautiful way to uplift your world, to have someone like that in your life. The motivator is an amazing person to have. A motivator may take on a role of a cheerleader from time to time, but their main role is to bring the world and all of its beauty to your front step and to remind you of all the possibilities, and even better, show you that you can and should be participating regularly. The motivator believes in you. The motivator loves life and is regularly reading and learning about it as they continue to become their best selves. The motivator is, in some ways, a mentor, but at their core, it is their energy that enlivens you and helps you become even more excited about living each day. As I mentioned in the inaugural episode of the SImple Sophisticate, one of the 8 pillars of living a simply luxurious life is to surround yourself with a healthy social circle, both in your professional and personal life. Much like a magnificent sculpture that is situated in a public square for all to see, initially, to construct it will take ardent attention and discernment, but to maintain it will require consistent attention and from time to time restorations, as you will be growing, evolving, and changing along the way as well. Do not, when it comes to letting people go, do not feel guilt-ridden for letting certain people out of your life. Be grateful for the time you had. If it was a positive experience, you now have beautiful memories. And if it was a negative experience, you have lessons to learn from. As social beings, learning how to navigate our lives as we interact with each other is a constant dance. But with conscious attention and a willingness to remember that we need to be positive contributors in others' lives just as much as we need positive influences in our own lives, the overall quality of our day-to-day life will improve. Success will occur, and all that we have to be grateful for will grow exponentially. Now, as I look at the list from my own perspective, the people that I should get rid of, or how I want to make sure I am not when it comes to relationships, I know that I've made some of those mistakes. I know that. Specifically speaking, I can think of my relationship with my mom, and we are very close. But as most child and a parent relationships, they grow and evolve, obviously, because a child is growing and evolving, as well as a parent. And often we forget that, right? And I think that's the key, is to keep trying, keep improving. We are not perfect, but it isn't until we get the knowledge that we can do better. Now we have some knowledge. Let's continue to try to do better and improve and be aware of the people that we welcome into our lives and how much influence they can have over our day-to-day living. I know you can do this. You already are. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I will provide all of the transcripts and quotes on today's show notes, podcast 36 at thesimplyluxuriouslife.com. So be sure to check that out. Now, stay tuned, because for this week's Petit Plaisir, I have something that will help you sleep very soundly. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Well, this week's Petit Plaisir has a double duty. And what I mean by that is it's going to offer you great comfort as a simple luxury, but it's also going to benefit your health as well. What could be better, right? So in previous episode, I had mentioned something briefly about a pillow that I use that I absolutely love, that I highly recommend, and I believe I even provided the link on that particular show note. Now, today I'm going to dive deeper into it because I have had this particular pillow, which is a Pacific Coast double down standard pillow. So very basic, but 100% down. Anyway, I have had these pillows for 6 to 8 months now, and I have had the best sleep of my life. Best sleep of my life. I am not joking. But there's more components to it as well. Not everyone can have this pillow because it is down. It is feather down pillow. And I know not everyone can have that. So hyperallergenic pillows are also an option as well. But I want to talk to you about the importance of choosing the right pillow. So today is all about choosing and covering your pillow so you can get the best night's sleep. The first thing you want to do is choose the proper pillow. And I was reminded of this as I was reading this last weekend's Wall Street Journal, their personal journal section. And they shared all this information that I think most of us know, but we forget about when we go to bed because we're exhausted and we don't think about the pillow we have. We just want to go to sleep, right? And then we wake up with a kink in our neck, or we haven't slept well because either we got too hot or we couldn't get in the right position, whatever it is. And we're like, and we may know it's our pillow, but then we have life and we go about our day and we forget. But investing in the right pillow really does make a ton of difference. And you'll find out that if you are able to buy down pillows, they actually last 5 to 6 years if you take care of them. So you don't have to be replacing your pillows that often. So the key is to pick a great pillow, because the purpose of a pillow is to align your back, your hip, and your neck to keep your spine as straight as possible. Now, the benefit to choosing a synthetic pillow over a down pillow is that they will hold their shape much better than a down. If you've ever had a down, you know that they're easy to mold into what you want, but that's also the benefit of a down as well. If you need a pillow to be able to mold into specific, nooks into your neck or whatnot, a down is fabulous. A synthetic, not so much. So it really just depends on what you need. If you're a side sleeper like myself, you'll probably want a down pillow. If you're not, laying on your back is probably an easier thing to do with a synthetic pillow because you're not asking too much of it with regards to its shape. You can buy exactly the shape you want and it will stay that way. And a lot of people like that structure. Another thing that down does, and these are the pillows that I have, is that it helps keep you cooler than a synthetic pillow does. Fewer dust mites, if any dust mites at all, are a problem with a down pillow. And they also allow you to, as we said before, mold and shift to exactly what you need for the head height that you want. Now, another way to preserve your pillows, whichever type of pillow you get, are to, and I just started doing this, my mom turned me on to it a couple years ago, but it's a brilliant idea, is to buy pillow protectors. These are very inexpensive. In fact, the ones I'm going to share with you on today's show notes are for 2 of them. To get 2 of them, less than $20. And they're 100% cotton. They keep the dust mites out, but they also protect you because they mop up the sweat. They protect your pillow from all that sweat and just things that happen when you're sleeping. So they definitely are an easy way to keep your pillows protected, and it helps those pillows to last longer. So start with number 1, a good pillow that is perfect for your way of sleeping. And then buy a 100% cotton pillow protector. And then here's the luxury part. Add a brilliantly soft pillowcase. Now, if you like silk pillowcases, I have a silk pillowcase company to go to. It's not a company, actually. It's one woman. And I've worked with her before, and she has gifted me one of her pillowcases, but I've recommended them on the blog, and the readers love them. And she is just talented. She has all sorts of beautiful pillowcases to choose from. She has her own Etsy shop, and she makes them right out of her home in England. So I will provide a link to that on today's show notes, so you can go to that. But if you don't like silk, or you would prefer not to have silk, choose 100% Egyptian cotton, so it's not too rigid and soft to your skin, and just make sure you wash it on a regular basis, preferably once a week. And in fact, I'm really excited about this news I get to share with you. I have a promo code for listeners and readers of the Simply Luxurious Life from Christy Linens. You may remember a couple weeks ago, I showcased my own bedroom using Christy Linen sheets and their duvet and their pillowcases, everything. It's absolutely pure luxury. Well, they have offered to give a promo code to save you 25% through May 15th. Simply use LUX25. That's LUX, all caps, 25 to save 25% on your first order, whether it's just pillowcases or pillow shams or the whole shabam. It's up to you. So be sure to use that if you are in the need or the hunt for pillowcases. So those are the 3 components. They're going to help you have a great night's sleep. They're going to help you stay cool if you choose down. And they're going to last a long time if you buy what you want and protect it with that pillow cover. I'll provide all the links on today's show notes, podcast 36. And I hope you begin to sleep even sounder than you already have been. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast, where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe to help you live more simply luxuriously. Anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you for tuning in to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonjour!